I see dead people.
Hot shit.
Here's Johnny.
Stop.
We have such sights to show you.
Bring the motherfucking ruckus. Fuck you too.
Yes, get yourself situated. Get all of your things. And this is advice for everyone. Everyone, get yourself situated. Gather all of your things. By things I mean a nice bevy, and of course, a smoking weed paraphernalia, and some good vibes, because today's episode, live from the United States, Pennsylvania more specifically, I have the New Zealander herself, Kitty, aka Torus Filth. Just golf claps. golf claps. Yes.
Kia ora, kia ora.
Yes. And that is key. Say it for. Teach me to say it.
Okay, so it's kia ora, but with the R's, you kind of gotta have like a d, like a d noise. Yeah, so kia ora, but kia ora. It kind of becomes one whole thing of kia ora.
Kia ora.
Yeah.
Am I saying that correctly? Kia ora.
So the vowels in te reo are a, e, I, o, u.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the a. So kia ora.
Kia ora.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's better.
I'm learning.
Ka pai.
We have had a fucking week. I want to do a brief recap of the week and the time that I've shared with you, in trying to give you what I think is a perfect snapshot of Pennsylvania in the month of October, when things are getting spooky and fun. But also giving you a taste of where I live, things specific to this geographic. And the first thing I got to talk about, when I picked you up at the airport, it was on the later side for businesses around here. So I took you to Wawa's mutant sibling, Sheets, where everything is fried and you could get everything on everything. And your statement biting into the wrap that you made was, "Oh, it's wet."
I don't even remember saying that, but okay, yes.
100%. And then I made you try a macaroni and cheese bite, and you literally went, "Ugh," and said, "I've never had something so fake in my life." And you like forcefully, it's a 3-bite little thing. So like you get a corner, then the middle, then another corner. And you took one bite, and then you fought yourself to consume the rest of it, where I continuously told you, my dog is sitting right there. Don't feel like you can't just give it to her, because she will 100% eat it.
And then what did I say? I said, I'm here for the experience.
You said it's all a part of the experience, which is a phrase that carried over into the rest of the week. We hung out again, and then we got Cali burrito. We did steak burritos, and you said, "Wow, everything, you guys and cheese.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys just really like to overdo it with the cheese." And I said, "Just you wait. Just you wait. I haven't showed you yet." And then I also appreciated that you called salsa sauce.
Did I?
Yeah, you called it sauce a bunch, and I was like, I like that.
Oh.
I'm gonna call it sauce now.
Okay.
I know that it also might have just been how you were saying salsa.
Oh, no, yeah, I was saying salsa.
Yeah, it sounded like
maybe
sauce.
I mumbled. Oh, okay.
It sounded like sauce to me, and I loved that.
Okay.
So it's now sauce.
Yeah.
Then we did buffalo chicken cheesesteaks.
Oh my god.
And it was really hard for me to try and describe the taste of it, because you were like, oh yeah, we have hot sauces back home, but I don't know, like, there's a difference between like a hot sauce and buffalo sauce. So that was something I felt like we were trying to define it. But I'm not going to get into it. That was a moment we shared, and I'm only doing a quick recap. Then we did Yakko's.
Yep.
Yakko's is a hot dog place, and you moaned in pleasure when you took that first bite. You literally went, "Oh, wow." And it was great.
I fist punched the air and everything.
Yeah, she got amped. She started doing the whole Rocky thing.
Yeah.
And
that was my happy food dance. I'm definitely going to be buying a handful of them to take with me.
There's one next to the airport.
Yeah,
there's one next to the airport.
Cool,
you're within walking or Ubering distance of the one that's next to the airport.
Yeah, I see.
Absolutely go get it again. Yeah. But you told me a story. Tell the story about the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh shit.
With the
so back in the day, when KFC came to New Zealand, Samoans would fly over, visit family that had already come over to Aotearoa, buy a whole buttload, a caseload of KFC, stuff it in the suitcases and in the overhead compartments, and took it over with them back to the rest of the family in Samoa.
How fucking great is that story? Like, and then naturally in telling that story, she then followed it up by saying, "That's gonna be my Yakko's." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, you're just gonna like buy another suitcase and fill it worth of Yakko's hot dogs."
Okay, maybe not to that extent, but you know, I'm gonna.
But maybe a couple in the current suitcase.
Yeah, I'll see if I can fit 6 in my carry-on.
Do yourself a favor and buy like Tupperware or something, because that tinfoil isn't gonna last TSA pre-check for you.
Yeah.
But it's really funny because for the uninformed, Yakko's hot dogs, what they do is they mix the chili, the mustard, and the onion into a sauce, and then they lather the hot dog with it. I just sneezed unceremoniously and made the most awkward face I probably could have ever made. Anyway, I bit my tongue.
Oh, that's what was happening. Okay.
What the fuck? I bit my tongue. Anyway, then we went to the Waldorf Estate, which is where they filmed the 4 Hell House movies, independent horror films. I don't think they're any particularly good, but Alley Cat and Django Phillips apparently are fans of at least the first one, so maybe I'll go back and I'll rewatch the first one, because I don't remember a single goddamn thing.
Yeah.
All that I remember is the title card, which is that clown that we ran into in the basement.
Yeah.
So, I had... you had been through like a haunted house before, but this was me trying to say like, this is a local attraction. People put money and time into this.
Yeah.
The acting is fantastic.
Yeah.
The costume work is great. And they do a haunted house. They do a movie scene walkthrough through a cornfield with various Halloweens, The Ring, It, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Children of the Corn.
I haven't done so much running and screaming.
That is exactly what I was going to get into, is that we let Kitty lead in the house because we wanted her to get the experience. But what's crazy is the house is so disorienting that we often got shuffled in our order a bunch. And it definitely happened more when we went through a corn maze with 2 other women who were just in line, as they all linked arms and took off sprinting away from Bubba, aka Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, leaving me pulling up my pants and trying to follow.
We were falling backwards into the corn.
They literally ran into
and
the
she
corn.
just linked arms with me, and she's like, we're fucking going.
Yeah.
And I wanted to look behind us to see what was happening, but she was on a mission. Like, yeah, that chainsaw was coming up fast behind us.
Yeah. No, that's a pure fight or flight moment that was enacted in that time frame.
Yeah.
And you were just taken by it. And that's just what happened.
Yeah.
It's really funny to see someone who's never really had those experiences before go through that. So I genuinely appreciate you being a trooper and enjoying that.
Yeah.
We did do like this little zombie walkthrough thing, but it was very overcomplicated and kind of annoying. And by that point, I was also tired of walking. My feet hurt, so I was just kind of done. It was okay. In order, that house is fucking awesome.
Yes.
That house is the reason why you go there. Anyone who wants to see a cool attraction and is in the local area, it's in Lehighton, Pennsylvania. It's the Waldorf Estate of Fear. And you can look it up because it is where they have filmed the Hell House LLC movies. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a good time. Highly recommend.
And then Saturday came.
Yeah.
Saturday, we made the quickest run ever to Spirit Hell-o-ween. And then we got pizza. And pizza was real cheesy. And again, she went, oh, that's a lot of cheese. That's definitely a lot of cheese.
The sauce was good. The sauce and the crust made up for it. So yeah, I gave it a good hone. Thank you.
The reason I like that place is because it's a sweet sauce. It's a sweet tomatoey sauce. Yeah. So it's very basiled. You know, it's very well seasoned. I love the way our pizzas are done over here. When you go to Chicago, if you have an ability to try a deep dish, completely different experience. It's like a pie, full of tomato sauce over there. So the cheese is the minimal and the sauce is thick as fuck.
Okay, cool.
Very different, but I'm partial to what I grew up with, which is you take a bite and the cheese like strings out away from your face as you're trying to eat it, like a cartoon, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, more specifically. And then we had the party. What do you remember about the party?
I remember meeting some of them, getting into some conversations. Apologies if I was too drunk, but I think I composed myself well.
Of course you did.
But that was like such a cool, manic, fun time for me meeting people in person.
I think what you said was it's surreal to hear everyone talking, hear all the voices, and realize that you were surrounded by like everyone you've listened to on the show before. Yeah. Because even just going down the line real quick of who was there, Cannibal Siren, Where Am I, Punxsutawney Trill, Deputy Dewey, Strawberry Shortcake, My Brother, Spum, Mr. Skelly Bones, A Bunch of Baby Ducks, Harold Heavy Hands, Alley Cat, and Mark Rooster.
That was a good time.
All of those people were there. Yeah. And, Midnight Bride, Afternoon Groom, they were there as well.
Shout out. Love you guys.
We also went to breakfast with them. It was very delicious. That's just so cool.
Yeah.
And you also fucking surprised me with something when you showed up, which is the tattoo of our title card on your wrist. That is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. It is going to go with me to my grave that someone beat me to getting a tattoo of our show, because I've always told myself that I want to do like a Captain Death portrait of some kind. Yeah. Like an actual painting, and then get it tattooed like on my back or something. As like an identifying symbol in case my body washes up on a beach someday. Yeah. They're like, that's who it was. Yeah. R.I.P. Captain Death, you are now officially dead. It's just the simplicity of it is great. Because the execution was you've been stick and poking it yourself.
Yeah.
It looks clean as fuck.
The lines are still a bit messy, but
it's clean as fuck. When I did a stick and poke for this arrow right here.
Yeah.
I was too incensed as a child, and I said I can't afford a tattoo, so I'm going to do one myself.
Yeah.
You can't tell because the guy took a real thick line and just went over all the stick and poke.
Yep.
But I had free-handed that.
Nice.
Before he took a gun to it.
Yeah.
But it definitely pulled it together. You can see only some of the shading like around corners. Of where my original stick and poke ink is popping out, just in a couple of places.
Yeah.
Like that's muddied as fuck.
Cool though.
But yeah, like even that was like a 6-month process for me. Like I just kept doing it. I kept refreshing it.
Oh, I did this in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But when I get weird and depressive, I fixate and. Yep, and that was the month for shitty. Shitty and good.
Whatever the reason is,
yeah.
I am happy to say that you are officially the only fan I know of with a tattoo of the show, which is fantastic. Because if it wasn't going to be me, it was definitely going to be Where Am I at some point. He was probably going to even beat me to doing it. I just don't know what he would have done, but. There was definitely something that he told me he was gestating.
Yeah. I didn't even think in my head at the time of doing the tattoo that I would be showing it to people who I listen to and have bought stickers of. Like, yeah, it just didn't even.
That was another
occur to me. So when it was actually happening, it was like, oh my god, this is happening.
I saw some of my friends' faces actually drop when you showed them that you had a tattoo of the show on your wrist. Like, Mark Rooster, Django Phillips, Strawberry Shortcake, like, I will now forever have memories of the three of you guys actually going, like jaw drop a little bit, eyes wide open, like, wait, you have a tattoo of our show on your wrist? And it's not a judgment thing. It's a what?
Yeah.
Someone likes us that much? So yeah. We have that person.
I'm even sitting here wearing the Lotsa Pastas t-shirt for fuck's sake.
Oh hell yeah! I thought you were wearing the Where Am I one again. No, you got the title card on.
Yeah. And I was wearing my Where Am I hoodie when Where Am I turned up as well. That was unintentional. I didn't realize it was turned up.
It was unintentional, but it was very funny because he has the same exact hoodie for himself. And I knew he was coming over and I didn't want to say anything. I just assumed you were going to keep it on. And luckily, the minute he walks through the door, you're the first person he sees. You turn around and go, hey! And he has no idea who you are. And he goes, hey! And then sees the hoodie you're wearing.
And I was like, are you this guy?
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck? I've never seen him.
And he's like, yeah, I am that guy. It was just so good. It was so good. The interactions that you shared with everyone last night, I know the people who were there and the people that thought about it the most, the people who I feel like analyzed it the most, Terry the Tickler, Harold Heavy Hands, Punxsutawney Trill, Where Am I, Cannibal Siren, Midnight Bride.
Yeah.
Like, I know all of them, like, recognized it and internally just went, that's so fucking cool. like they were immediately just like, you like us, so much that we were a stop on your trip to the United States.
Yeah.
We were able to line up a date for you to show up and meet as many of us that have ever actually been in the same place at the same time together. And the stars just aligned, and I could tell even someone like Cannibal Siren is like, I mean, she's my main bitch.
Yeah.
She's my number one bitch.
Yeah.
And she's recorded a lot of episodes with me, and I know just you being like just so enamored with being around her, just being like, I love you. I love you. I love listening to you. You are hilarious.
Yeah.
You are fun. I know that goes a long way for some of these people.
Yay!
And that's why I'm like sitting here and I'm like, fucking frowns. Fucking frowns, fucking Sofa King. You know, probably the two most mentioned people that weren't there.
Yeah.
I gotta wear Scutch McGee. Scutch, if you're listening, go fuck yourself. Scutch McGee was called out.
Yeah.
Those were probably the three people that were called out the most. You missed Kitty. I'm disappointed in you. She's disappointed in you. No, she's not, but I am. And it's because you guys need to party with us.
Yeah, I'll be back. Thanks very much for having me this time.
At some point, Kitty will be back, and I hope to have frowns at that time to make your life's dream come true of meeting the gayest man on the planet, of meeting the most dick-hungry person I've ever met.
Yeah.
And then I hope Sofa King's there because he's funny and always singing little songs. And he's just a big dude that likes to have a good time. And then Scutch, we need to get him away from his kids, man. We need to save him from his kids sometime. Yeah. So we'll get him at some point too. Yeah, cool. But anyone who wasn't mentioned, I know where you are and what you were doing on Hell-o-ween. It's fine. Some of you live across the country. It's understandable. Don't feel bad. It's just Kitty was here and she hung out with all of us and we all got drunk together and it was really fun and you should feel bad for not having been there.
And sorry for not talking to everybody. It was very overwhelming and I drank too much.
There were definitely over 30 people there.
Yeah.
Because I was able to get 24 of them to play the game, and that wasn't everyone.
Oh, true, yeah.
There was at least, 8 other people. So I'm going to say we were over 30 people for sure. And for how small my house is, and for how small my setup is, over 30 people is a lot. There were a lot of people. Yeah, no, it was crazy cool. It was crazy cool. It was one of my favorite experiences.
Yeah, thanks so much.
For real, you're the one who came this far. I'm just the entertainer. I'm just the host. And host I did.
Yeah, fucking A, you did. That was great.
And it's, there are places that I would love to go to where I knew someone was going to be there to be like, this whole experience, it's going to be a lot easier than you think it's going to be. And I'm just going to take you around and show you how things are done. And we're just going to do it and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm type A that way where I'm like, you've been talking about this for months, if not years.
Yeah.
And I've just been like, okay, so how many days are you going to be around? How many days can I plan that? And you were just like, hey, don't feel like you have to extrovert your ass off to make this happen. And I was like, you know what? Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna be like, we need to do something every fucking day.
Yeah.
We need to go out. We need to go out and fuck every pumpkin on this street, every Hell-o-ween store. You need to take a shit in the back, and we need to run.
Yeah. Here's the unofficial plan, unofficial plan. Yeah, I appreciated that, and it helped me just finish off this last part. So I'm very grateful. But yeah, also I'm happy just playing it chill.
And chill we did.
Yeah.
You got pretty drunk last night.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Better now than you did earlier?
I'm definitely feeling a lot better now, chat.
We wanna give a shout out to Deputy Dewey. Go fuck yourself. You're the one who sent her overboard by taking her off the vodka train and putting her on the whiskey bourbon train.
But also I'm here for the experience, so fucking A, Deputy Dewey. But yeah, also,
you got taken to a new level there, and I don't blame you for having been taken there. With that being said, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Is there anything else you wanted to mention? But we're gonna keep this simple. We're gonna jump into a story.
I'm honestly just keen to be recording and actually physically being here
on the couch
and
in the studio.
Yeah, and my audio isn't like weird or yeah.
I think it's charming for the people that I record with that aren't here. That they like sound a certain way.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it's like a different dimension of the show.
I overthink. Like I can barely get through my own episodes because I overthink everything that I say.
Well, you're not the only one who feels that way. I think even Where Am I yesterday said like I don't listen to my own episodes.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a neuroses thing. Yeah. Like you just I'm a narcissist, so I will gladly listen to myself talk as many times as I need to in order for this to reach where it needs to reach at the end of the day. It's just that was a joke. I'm not actually a narcissist. My thing is that I see this as the product that it can be, and I work up into the point of making sure that it's something that I still enjoy and it's something I can put out there, and that's just the motivation to go back and do it. I don't think that I'm terrible to listen to. I definitely enjoy listening to other people on the show more. My whole thing about reading stories with people is I like hearing them read, especially the ones who are like good at it. Yeah. Like the people that are really good at reading, like Cannibal Siren, like Django Phillips, just like because they've been on so many episodes. Yeah. Like they have great voices for this medium. Yeah. And it's like Tenron Otrin, just like great voice for this medium. And it's just like I appreciate that maybe more than I even appreciate any of my bullshit talking. Getting to listen to a story like Spire in the Woods, Baraska, and just hear how well they're reading it, like that's where I'm blown away. So hearing people read like really cool stories to the best of their ability, and like for the most part, your episodes have been great. So like I love reading with you. So we're gonna read just a single story. We're gonna get through in one shot, and I gave you some options, and we came down to a couple. I think it was just mostly on length. I'm not trying to kill her with what we're trying to do right now. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible, so it's not very long. It's not a very long story, but it is an interesting title. How to Survive in Hell. What made you want to go with Hell?
I guess it made me think of before I came over here, I was maybe watching too many horror stories of Airbnb experiences for other people. As like
naturally, right when you're about to travel, you're like, I'm gonna get paranoid as fuck.
But I bought things as like room safety stuff. The very first like custom officer, that I had to chat to when I arrived in American soil was very serious about very serious situations, and I understood, and there's a lot of mental preparation I had to do for coming over here, and the title just made me think of that. But now that I've been here...
Has it been a disorienting experience at all? Or was Houston just really shitty?
Well, yeah, that part was disorientating because I'd been awake for so long.
Yeah, no, that was just a shitty experience. Thanks, Texas. Thanks. She came here once and you fucked it. No, but you had fun in Oklahoma City, and you had fun in Detroit, so it's like has the entire like West Coast across experience, has it been like tough?
Not necessarily, because I feel like I've taken everything at face value, and when something is weird, I remark on it, I process it, and then just move on. Yeah.
No, that's really simple. I feel like that's what I would do if I was in hell. I'd visually like... Yeah. I have a furrowed brow right now, and I'm looking at the ground, and I'm just like, Well, I'm in
Yeah.
I'm in hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then you just move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is the new place that I'm now in.
Yeah. I'm here for the fucking experience. Like, you know, I would...
Let's figure out what this is about.
At first I was flabbergasted about the amount of cheese and sugar that is in the food and trying to get used to it and pumpkin spice everything everywhere. But now that I've been here and gone through the experiences and gone through at least like 4 different states at this point...
It's a good serving.
Yeah.
It's 4 out of 50. Like,
Yeah.
it's a taste.
Yeah.
It's an appetizer.
It's just kind of like, okay, there's this amount of sugar in the kombucha. I accept this. This is what is happening to my body now, and let's do it.
Has it run amok on your internal system?
It was not as bad as I thought, but also I haven't tried Taco Bell yet, so...
Maybe don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe don't.
Yeah.
As much as I love to smell the bell,
I would need a guidebook for that kind of particular hell. But yeah.
No, I think that is a ring of hell for sure. The Taco Bell shits is absolutely. For me, it's like you come over, we shove all this like fake shit and artificial shit and like over sugared shit down your throat. I have to ask, just like, you think you've handled it relatively well.
Yeah.
Does it explain why all Americans are fat, stupid, and angry all the time?
Yeah.
It really does.
I overdosed on sugar in Oklahoma, which was my first port of call after the layovers. But, and then I started detoxing from that big sugar hit and that excitement of trying the new food. And oh boy, I got grumpy. Holy crap, I got real grumpy. I had to have a couple more cries. But once my body regulated to the new levels of sugar and corn syrups and all that stuff, then it got a bit easier. But yeah.
Well, no, like let me. I don't eat like this every week. I do not have all of that.
Oh yeah.
I have maybe one of those meals.
Yeah.
Once a week.
Yeah.
It's just because you were here that I wanted to show you everything. For me, it's been quite an experience.
Yeah.
Gastro-wise, as my body gets wrecked every time I eat at those places, because generally I've been watching what I've been eating. I've been on like a health journey, quote unquote, and I've lost some weight, and I've been calorie counting, vegetable eating. Like, there's a reason people feel the way they feel, and it's so, our bodies are like cars. Like, you really genuinely have to tune things up and change your oil and like watch what you're putting in, because the intake is the outtake, and like, genuinely, if all you're doing is chugging Red Bulls and eating like McDonald's, you will get fucked.
Yeah. So blessings on your bowels for going through this with me.
Blessings. I enjoyed every second of it because I loved all of those places.
Yeah.
I am ready to go back to eating like vegetables and protein.
But see, that's the other thing. I ate fruit and stuff, had a weird reaction to the different pesticides that are over here. So
it's even that type of stuff.
Yeah.
How wild.
It's been an interesting time.
Interesting is a fucking understatement.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you and my other hosts have definitely been holding my hand in how to survive in this new fresh hell that is America. But now that I'm here, I'm like, no, this isn't actually hell, and I accept what is happening to my body.
The How to Survive in Hell with like parentheses the United States, it's just like, take some Tums, have an Advil.
That's a new thing to me as well.
Try a diet pill or not a diet pill, like a vitamin for dairy.
Yeah.
Like a dairy lax.
Yeah.
Something that makes it easier for your body to process our sugared up dairy and cheeses.
Yeah.
Our sugared salted meats.
Yeah.
You know, how we fry everything, you know. That's how to survive in America, so I'm glad you got that.
Yeah.
We are gonna find out how to survive in hell, however. I think it's cut into parts.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about, like, you see I'm seeing all these like little bullet points. Let's just switch off on every like bullet point.
Yeah.
It should make it easier to get through, right?
Yeah.
Because there are all these little spots. Do you want to start?
Okay.
How to Survive in Hell. I grabbed this off of Reddit No Sleep.
I woke up in a birthing sack, panicked and choking on amniotic fluid.
Nice.
I clawed at the fleshy walls, fighting with all my terrified strength to free myself.
That, to me, that just sounds like a regular old Monday morning. After drinking too much with my mates, I'm in the birthing sack, panicked and choking on amniotic fluid.
That was me this morning, for sure.
For me, it's a little bit more of like the opening to the Matrix.
Yeah. With a wet, ripping sound, I was dumped into the muddy cobbles of the street below, twisting my ankle as I landed. Ouch. Cold rain blasted my naked body clean of the sack's liquid. I tried and failed to get to my feet. The street was alien to me, an insane medley of architecture ranging from the modern to the prehistoric. The sky above boiled with storm clouds, illuminating my surroundings with non-stop flashes of lightning. A man walked over to me. His hair was matted with filth, Torus Filth, and rain streaked down his
Shout out.
and the rain streaked down his mismatched leather clothes. He said nothing, just watched me squirm on the floor. "Please," I gasped. "Help me." He answered by slamming a foot down on my face, breaking my jaw and making my vision reel. He moved onto my limbs, stamping and tugging until he heard the bones snap.
What the fuck?
Crippled, naked and screaming, there was nothing I could do to defend myself when he started to eat me alive.
What the fucking fuck?
Whoa! Okay.
I mean, that was the welcome I gave you when you came to Pennsylvania. So.
Fuck yeah. Sheets is like.
Because you wanted to go to Wawa. You were like, I could really do a Wawa.
A food spaceship. It was like a food spaceship.
They literally make anything there.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That was wild. And yes, I did make it everything too wet, but it was good the next day.
I loved that, like, on the screen to make a rap, you just kept clicking everything that was there. You asked yourself, what sounds good?
Yeah.
And it was like, it was a chicken base with like lettuce topping. Like that's all that's like guaranteed in the tortilla shell.
Yeah.
But you were like, pico de gallo, chili, mustard. Like you really just fucking went all, like when it came to the cheese, you were like, fucking cheese. You guys and the cheese. But here you are putting fucking everything on this fucking rap.
Okay, I gotta tell you a secret. What was going through my mind at that point was, there are no cats in America. I was like, we're here, we're doing it.
That is hilarious. That's the answer I expected, but I'm glad that you said it.
All right. Right. My introduction to hell wasn't unusual. Very few people survive their first hour, let alone their first night. When they die, they go through the same thing again, emerging from a new birthing sack in another part of the city. Eventually, they'll learn to attack the first person they see, and if they're lucky, they'll be able to kill that person.
Jesus.
Whoa. So
what an immediate, like, fight or flight moment.
It's like a Matrix hell reprogramming boot camp.
It's Matrix that drops you into Jack the Ripper's, like, 1800s London.
Fuck that shit. That's the one rule of hell. The strong take from the weak. Get used to the idea and you just might make it through the afterlife.
Yo, I'd love to see the Cenobites just come strolling into this shit. Just like, how's everyone doing?
Yeah.
Here's a chain. Your face is gone. Anyone want to touch my puzzle box? Like, they're the eccentric people. Like, they have a club.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the street, it's the Droons from Clockwork Orange, the Droogs, just walking around with fucking canes, beating the shit out of people, cod pieces out.
Oh, fuck that, no thanks. I'm gonna give you a helping hand. Consider this your handbook to hell, a primer on the inferno. Make no mistake though, I'm not doing this out of the goodness of my heart. When you die, you'll owe me one. Don't worry about trying to find me. I'll guarantee we'll run into each other eventually. Eternity is a long fucking time, so it's a matter of when rather than if. Do as I tell you, and you'll have a better chance than most of avoiding my own nasty introduction to the pit.
Welcome to hell! Yeah, no, I like the narrative. I like the idea that this dude is just like... we're going to find out more about him probably as the story goes on, because we're going to be learning through his experience. His or her. I feel like it's a him. And this is going to be like your guidebook. You know, our own little Dante's Inferno. Which I'm a big fan of. The Divine Comedy. This kind of experience of reflecting on one's life as they pass through the rings, and they're just seeing everything, all the gates and all of the situations and all the sins. So I have a feeling that we're going to get like a contemporary, you know, new age version of that, which is very cool for me to think about, because I like when people stretch that fantasy.
Yeah.
Some people swear they saw a light at the end of the tunnel when they died. To my mind, those people either hallucinated or they're lying. Most of us just wake up in a birthing sack a few minutes after death. The buildings of hell are covered in things, horrible yellow-brown pimples growing out of the brick. I've already mentioned that the first thing you need to do is claw your way out and get ready to fight. This is the real bitch of the situation comes into play, since not everyone has the strength to break through their flesh sacks. You get the body you had just before you died. So let's say you were born a cripple, or you died too young, or too old. Tough shit. You're going to have a rough eternity drowning in birthing fluid over and over. Yeah, that's a lot. If you manage to break free of your sack, don't waste time moping around wondering what the fuck happened. Get on your feet and get ready to defend yourself. Chances are good that the first person who sees you will be hungry. There are no plants or animals in hell, so cannibalism is your only option if you don't fancy starving to death and having to start over. Aim to kill the first person you see. It might take a few tries. Most of hell's residents have been fighting for survival a lot longer than you. They might have armor made from tanned skin, scavenged metal and bone. They'll almost certainly have a shiv, club, or axe. All of that will be useful to you if you can take it from them. The next thing to do is find shelter. It never stops raining in hell, and pneumonia is a shitty way to die. Luckily, you'll have a selection of buildings to choose from. Ever wanted to live in a rundown Victorian manor with half a roof and no furniture? How about an Egyptian mud brick hovel? If people have built it, you can find a crumbling version of it in hell. Pick a building, kill the squatters, and move in. The best houses are the ones that come with a supply of scrap metal and timber. Not only are these good for making weapons with, they're also vital for getting drinkable water. I learned the hard way that hell's rain is teeming with disease. It has to be boiled before it's safe. So getting a fire going and something to make a bowl with is a necessity. So, we've killed our first man and found a home. I want, like, the welcome mat.
Yeah.
It says, like, live, laugh, love.
Yeah.
Things are going well. Get that far, and you're going to want to hang on to what you have forever. You won't. Something will kill you eventually, and you will have to start over. My record is a year. If you want to beat that, you need to understand hell and its denizens. This kind of sounds like a video game to me.
Yeah.
Like it's a gamified, like, it's Fortnite. You know, it's Fortnite for your soul.
Yeah.
The next section is called The Damned.
Oh my gosh, I'm very excited for this. Okay.
Are you enjoying it?
Yes.
It is interesting.
The people of hell can be grouped into two categories. The first, the fresh meat, are those who have just climbed out of the birthing sack. It's kill or be killed when it comes to fresh meat, always has been. The newly birthed want clothing and tools and will kill to get hold of them. The second category, the residents, view fresh meat as a quick and easy supply of food, leather and bone. Blech. Residents have an easier time of it for sure, and all of them will fight to retain their resident status for as long as they can. Make no mistake though, residents victimize each other just as much as they prey on fresh meat. If you're a woman, for instance, well, you better get over any hang-ups that you have about rape.
Jesus Christ. That's just a cold open. That's just a cold open.
Women get raped in hell far more than men. It's just a fact.
Interesting.
If you're not one of those bodybuilders or warrior women, do the smart thing and prostitute yourself for protection. Self-respect doesn't keep you breathing.
Oof.
God damn. Remember how you get the body you had just before you died? Well, that fact forms the core of Hell society. The truth of the matter is that throughout history, it's usually been men who die in battle. That means that in Hell, there are a lot of men with young, strong bodies fit for war. Don't like it? Tough. Those are the guys who call the shots. If you can't fight them, you'd better do as they tell you. If you live long enough and fight well enough, you might get invited into one of the resident tribes. These are groups of people who band together for the sake of safety in numbers. Believe me, being part of a group that makes things a lot easier in Hell. However, keep in mind that you're only part of the tribe as long as you're a resident. Get yourself killed and it's back to being fresh meat.
Uh-huh.
Tribes offer the closest thing to civilized society you'll find in Hell. If you're part of a tribe, you have people on your side who probably won't kill you unless shit gets rough. Doesn't sound like much, but that's about as good as it gets. My own survival record was thanks to getting into a tribe. Life was good for a while there. We had about 50 soldiers and plenty of girls to fuck. Nobody could touch us, and the men abided by an honor code, so the usual fear of being stabbed in the back by your friends wasn't too much of an issue. I could have spent my eternity in reasonable comfort, but Hell has ways of fucking over a good thing. Human flesh and boiled rainwater doesn't exactly make for a balanced diet, and sooner or later, even the strongest resident dies of malnutrition. I did well to last a year on it, though the last few hours were agony. If I believed in God, I'd swear he designed Hell in such a way that nobody stays on top of the food chain for long.
A lot of that I have a lot of practical problems with, just because I feel like there are a lot of, like, diseases and sicknesses and things that happen when you don't cook things the right way or consume things the right way and what your body actually needs to survive. I would actually put it up there that scientists put into this situation to decide whether or not this can happen would say that a person couldn't last a year off of human flesh and boiled water. That's actually a little bit hard for me to believe. I would say maybe a couple months.
Oh, you think you wouldn't last a year with just
Absolutely
those?
not.
Ah.
Think of all the nutrients your body isn't getting. Like, think of, like, the human body only has so many things to offer a human if they need to consume it. And at the same time, like, think of, like, shit like dysentery and poisoning and uncooked meat and stuff, like salmonella, you know? I'm just thinking of the sickness aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like, how they're not fucking sitting down at stoves and, like, cooking, you know, prime steak. They're most likely just turning things over a pit and hoping that it's cooked enough for them to consume. Like, I don't assume many of these guys are taking their flesh tartare, you know?
Well, I think it would be maybe a year or longer, because I used to know someone who would eat rare cooked steak all the time because that's what he thought Satanism was. And yes, he eventually got real sick. But he probably was getting other vitamins and minerals and stuff.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, there's you remove yourself from how our system works so much. Part of me is just like, you actually do get put into this hellscape where those are the only two things you consume. Yeah. And I'm gonna say that's gonna kill you sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
At least for my assumption.
Wow, dude.
Next chapter, the city and the wasteland. Most of the damned live in Dis, the city of hell. Dis, look at this. That's where all the fresh meat is born, and considering the size of the place, coupled with short life expectancy, a lot of people will spend eternity without ever setting foot outside of Dis. Outside of Dis. Take my advice, do not leave the city. Things are rough on the streets, it's true, but trust me when I say it gets worse if you try to leave. Dis is surrounded by a wasteland called Gehenna. At first glance, it doesn't look like much, just an empty expanse of gray stretching out into infinity. Sometimes the damned lose that fire in their belly, the will to survive, and set off wandering into Gehenna. Most of them never come back. I made the walk myself once a long time ago. I don't care how hard you think you are. Spend enough time in hell and it starts to break you down. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a good person who never deserved this. Nobody can say that and not be a liar. I'm not evil, though. Or rather, I wasn't. Not until I got to hell. You murder, you rape, you torture, because you know that they would do the same to you. You're murdered, you're raped, and you're tortured, because you know you'll do the same to them. Give it long enough, and you just don't want to face that anymore. And that's when you take the walk into Gehenna. The first couple of miles I walked were nothing special. The rain stopped after a while, and the sludge beneath my feet gave way to gray ash, and I caught my first glimpse of hell's sky beyond the clouds. It's a flat gray with a white sun, completely devoid of beauty or warmth. I trudged on. While walking through Gehenna, I lost any urge to eat, drink, or sleep. My body started to waste away, but I didn't care. Even when my skin started to peel away and my bones were exposed, I didn't care. The further I walked, the hollower I became in mind, body, and soul. I don't know what would have happened if I kept going. Frankly, I don't want to know. Some part of me still wanted to live, so I turned back. I'd walked for days, maybe weeks, yet when I turned around, this was only a few steps away.
Whoa.
I stepped back into the city, and my body fell apart. And when I emerged from my birthing sack, I swore never to step foot into Gehenna again. God. Just a nightmare wasteland.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the sandworm.
Yeah.
to come out of nowhere. Yeah, that sandworm's a real bitch.
Wow. I am disturbed, but I am still
disturbed. How about this?
How about
Next part. Escaping from hell.
Okay. There are ways to leave hell. That should be obvious, otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you, would I? Sometimes the living get it in their heads that they want to talk with the dead. They get their crystals, incense, and spirit boards in the hopes of reaching their loved ones. Most do nothing more than trick themselves into thinking they've made contact. They smile or cry, convinced their beloved granny is playing the harp on a cloud somewhere before getting on with their lives. A few have the skill to actually reach us, though. They can open a gate between hell and the world of the living that we perceive as a pillar of fire, stretching down from the clouds. As soon as one of those pillars shows up, the damned scramble to be the first to get to it. You haven't seen the true nature of man until you've watched thousands of the damned swarming over each other, kicking, biting, and clawing to be the one who escapes. Contacting the dead always results in a bloodbath. Even the most civilized tribes fall apart the instant it becomes clear that the only one of them can leave. I've left hell twice now, left my body behind and ridden that pillar of fire up into the clouds. Some people believe that you can be possessed by demons. Let me tell you something, demons aren't real. What the living see as demonic possession is just one of the damned testing out their new body. Let's face it, if you fought your way through hell to get back to the world of the living, you're not going to be on your best behavior for long. Sooner or later, we take things too far. Our host dies or their family cave and recruit an exorcist, then we're fresh out at the birthing sack on the streets again. I'm going to go now. When you get to hell, remember my advice and that you owe me one. Maybe we can form a tribe someday. For the time being, though, I want to see what my new body can do.
So that was part 1, and apparently this person posted this in a series, so that was just a random post one day. This person probably didn't know it was going to become a long-form thing, but they eventually came back to it, and that's always really cool to me.
Yeah, I like this.
This is going to be part 2. By now, you should have a good idea of what you can expect from hell. You know to kill the first person you see when you fight your way out of a birthing sack, and you know to find clothing, tools, shelter. You know that no matter what you do, how well you do it, someday it's back to being fresh meat. This is the biggest city you can imagine. Tribes fight and die for territory. Taking a wrong turn is a fucking death sentence. You'll get a feel for where you should and shouldn't go eventually. Develop the kind of street smarts you need to stay a resident for more than a day. Even so, there are places in this that you should know about. Let's do a little sightseeing tour of hell. Maybe the advance warning will do you some good.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to read Skin Street, if that's okay, because I literally got to read a paragraph.
Yeah.
All right. Apparently, the first stop on this wonderful expedition is a place called Skin Street. Allow me to tell you about the first time I saw Skin Street. I dropped out of my birthing sack onto the road, stood straight back up, and got myself ready to fight. No one was there. Not a single person was out on the street, stretched for miles in either direction. So I relaxed and I took a look around. Most of the streets in Dis are labyrinthine network of buildings. You spend most of your stay in hell paranoid that just looking around the next corner someone is going to be there to beat you down. Skin Street isn't like that. It's a single straight line with only the rain and the darkness to hamper visibility. I felt more vulnerable there than I felt in any other part of Dis. You ever walked into a wide, empty space and suddenly felt exposed? Yeah, imagine also being naked, unarmed, and in hell. Still, I knew what I was supposed to do. The first step was to find some clothing, and that's where I learned how Skin Street got its name. Every building, every busted street lamp, and gas lamp was decorated with flayed skin. I'd been in hell long enough by that point to not be too freaked out, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me. In a fucked up way, it kind of reminded me of Christmas. You know, people hanging wreaths and lights in their houses, that sort of thing. I remember the time I'd spent with my family, with my kids on Christmas morning. And it's feelings like that get you killed. I pushed them back down, pulled some scraps from the nearest building. If somebody was going to leave clothing material lying around, I might as well take it, right? I didn't know at the time, but every step I took on Skin Street was being watched. When the attack came, I didn't even get a glimpse of the guy. Bang. My skull fractured from an expert swing of a club. Whoever hit me went for my eyes the second I hit the floor. Stuck his fingers right into my sockets. I was blind, crying like a baby, when he started to peel away my skin. Here's the thing. Some people are fucked up even by hell's standards. The loners, the serial killers, the stalkers, the psychos, all make their way to Skin Street in the end. Most of the damned use the whole body of a kill, but the Skin Street people like to take trophies. They leave their ornaments out as bait for the ignorant, skulking in the shadows and waiting for the best moment to ambush. If you find yourself on Skin Street, you're going to have to think fast. Forget clothing. Just grab a rock, a piece of wood, anything you can use as a weapon, and stay out of the shadows. Keep checking behind you, and get out of there as quickly as you can. Next chapter, Perdition Farms.
Holy shit. You're going to be chased in hell. That's unavoidable. At some point, you'll stumble into somebody bigger than you, or you'll find yourself outnumbered. Forget about a fair fight. If someone can take you down without you fighting back, you bet that's what they'll do. It's easy to lose focus when you're running for your life. You can forget to pay attention to your surroundings. That, my friend, is a big mistake. The outskirts of Perdition Farms are littered with billboards. They promise free food and safety to anybody fucking stupid enough to believe them.
Yep.
The tribes that fight over that particular territory like to herd people off the streets and into the industrial complex they call home. The good news is that those tribes won't kill you. The bad news is that they're big fans of taking people alive. They've got a project, you see, been working on it for as long as I can remember. I couldn't tell you who originally decided that hell should have an organized food production.
Fuck off.
Only that the idea stuck, and that over the years, countless tribes have taken it upon themselves to try and make that dream a reality. Get yourself captured by them, and you can look forward to a bit of slave labor. For the most part, the Perdition Farm tribes try to make use of the birthing pods as a source of food. They force their slaves to harvest them from the walls, grind them up in industrial vats, mix them with blood, body parts, rainwater, and anything else that could conceivably make a broth. The life of a slave is short, brutal, and disgusting, particularly when those slaves are then used as guinea pigs for the latest concoction. You see, amniotic fluid can be drunk if you're desperate, though drinking too much is guaranteed to make you empty your stomach from every available orifice. Blech.
Yeah.
The flesh of the sacs is a different matter, though. I couldn't tell you exactly what the birthing sacs are. Some people say that they're actual flesh, while others swear they're more like a fungus. What I do know is that they repair themselves over time. Eat some of their flesh, and over the next few days you'll grow a new birthing sac inside you. It's a small mercy that you won't live long enough to see it break through your skin. You'll be dead shortly after your stomach bursts.
That sounds awful.
Yeah. If you're lucky, your days as a slave will end when the tribe decides that they want some real meat. They're not stupid enough to test their broth on themselves, not when there's no shortage of slaves in hell. Look, I can't force you to stay out of Perdition Farms. I can only offer advice. In my opinion, if you think you're being herded there, it's better to take whatever's to hand and cut your own throat.
Jesus.
I'd take fresh meat status 100 times before spending another day on the farms.
That is wild. I didn't like that at all. All right.
Perdition Farms, remember?
I love that. That's hilarious. I was a second away from saying integrity at Perdition Farms. All right. The Boneyard, that's where I live, Captain Death, with my skelly bone friend. So maybe you're thinking to yourself, hey, I'm kind of a nut job who joined a cult. Is there anything in hell for me? If that sounds like you, the Boneyard has you covered. You see, there's a certain kind of religious fanatic who really does belong in hell. I'm not talking about the old dears who bake cakes to raise money for the new church roof here. I'm talking about the guys who went to war because God commanded it, who burned women for supposedly consorting with demons, and who saw nothing wrong with fucking the odd kid. When those people go to hell, they're too thick-headed to make sense of what happened. Why face reality when you can just pretend it's all a test of faith? They find like-minded folk in the Boneyard. I'm told that at one time the Boneyard was a cathedral surrounded by a cemetery that stretched from horizon to a horizon. And maybe that's true. I don't know. These days it's a shantytown of temples and churches built from materials scavenged from the streets. Everywhere you look you find wild-eyed zealots preaching their own twisted versions of redemption and gangs of masked men on the prowl for fresh converts. Mortification of the flesh is the main pastime in the Boneyard. If you listen to the cacophony of sermons, you'll be informed of how the flesh is wicked and must be purged of sin, and how lucky we are to be given such a holy duty, how fortunate to be given the opportunity to redeem ourselves before God. The people of the Boneyard have had a long time and plenty of fucking practice when it comes to mastering torture and degradation. Like, could you imagine just, like, the Spanish Inquisition just being like, hey!
Yeah.
Come on in!
Ugh.
You know?
Fuck's sakes.
I'm not a good person. I have killed, raped, cannibalized, but I can honestly tell you, I'd never been able to dream up some of the shit that goes on in the Boneyard.
Fucking God.
I wandered in there by accident once. Never been able to get what I saw out of my brain. I watched a woman, naked, bound, forced onto her knees and violated with iron rods. A preacher sewed his own eyes and lips shut in front of a crowd before sawing off his manhood with a piece of slate. A boy of maybe 14 was publicly crucified. A girl was drowned in shit. An older man had sharpened flint pushed under his fingernails. I could just list 100 other atrocities done in the name of redemption. Stay away from the Boneyard. The people there decided that hell just isn't hellish enough for their liking. Forget redemption. Forget God. The only way out of hell is by riding a pillar of fire and taking over a living body. Focus on that if you want to escape. The damned can't offer you salvation. The damned only offer pain. This is now part 3.
Wow. This is so good. I love it. I'm sorry I'm moving around a lot.
Oh, you do it. You do what you gotta do.
I have to leave you soon. If I'm to make the most of life on Earth, I'm afraid I'm going to have to skip town. While I've had plenty to keep myself entertained, this body just isn't suitable for a run-in with the police. It's only a matter of time until some nosy neighbour thinks to pick up the phone. With the humidity of the last few days, Mummy and Daddy are already pretty ripe. Oh, shit. Here's something you have to understand. Hell is a big place. I've given you fair warning about the few of the locations I myself have run into, and that will have to do. Even if I wrote a library's worth of novels solely dedicated to mapping out the distinct locations within Dis, I still couldn't tell you everything about the city. What I can do is give you a bit of information about some of the damned.
And this was actually going to be my next question. Like, think of the worst fucking people in existence.
Yeah, I've been thinking, my mind's been going...
Where did you go?
Not Resident Evil, Pyramid Head.
Yeah.
Pyramid Head and,
Silent Hill.
Yeah.
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 I'm glad that you went somewhere cool, because I went, like, where's Hitler?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I went Preacher.
Yeah.
So in Preacher, when the one kid gets sent to hell unfairly, like Preacher's god powers, he just says go to hell, and the kid actually goes there, like gets teleported there. And the kid is like a nice kid, like a nice guy. And when he gets there, hell is like this prison system, and he gets put in the same block as Hitler.
Right.
And everyone kills Hitler like over and over and over again, and he just keeps coming back and saying like, really, do we have to do this? And it's really funny because the actor is like so well known. It's this British actor who plays Hitler, and he's just fantastic. The main kid being gullible as fuck and being like, oh, I'm just in hell, I might as well make some friends. Like, he befriends Hitler because he feels bad for him.
Yeah.
He's like, you might have done some terrible things, but you know, like, you're in hell, and it's kind of sad that they keep raping and killing you. So, you know, we could be friends because we're both softies. And he's like, would you like to look at my paintings? Would you like to... Would you like to read my poetry? Like, it's really funny. But at the same time, when they're talking about escaping from hell, he's just immediately, he's like, and when I get out of hell, I'm going to finish killing the Jews.
No!
And it's just like, he hasn't learned anything. And that's where my head goes with this story. I'm like, where's Ed Gein? Is he just the king of some castle somewhere where all of these cannibals are just like, Ed, we praise you.
Yeah.
Ed, we pray. Like, is Jeffrey Dahmer just like, does he have like a club in the Miami section of hell?
Right, okay.
Where like all the gays come and they fucking kill and rape each other.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking this guy's gonna go in like an exuberant direction and probably not go in a nonfiction direction. But I would want to go in a nonfiction direction. I would want to be like, yeah, Gacy started up a clown service and he plays parties. You know, like, you guys ever see this one? And he just like guts a kid in front of the audience and everyone's like, yeah. Because it's hell.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that's where my head
would
goes.
They be in charge of their own little domains, or would they just be receiving the, you know,
it's the question
times of, you know, retribution?
Because people know who they are, and
Yeah.
they know like never to give them a chance because they've hunted in their lives, like they're gonna hunt it, you know.
That's a good
afterlife.
point. Do the hunters, run their own thing?
I'm also, ironically, if this has been like throughout time and space, right? I'm also thinking of like, where are like the genuine like tribesmen, you know, like the nomad people of the BC era who really did go around and like kill people and eat them and shit. Would they not just have like top priority domain because they've lived this life in their regular life, that now being in hell, they're just like, hey, more of the same, you know? So in my head, you know, I keep thinking of the movie Bone Tomahawk.
I haven't seen it.
Really great film. You think there are monsters in this valley hunting these cowboys because it takes place in the Old West. It ends up being Native Americans with a tangent for eating people.
Oh, fun.
Real crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to learn about some of the people to stay away from because we learned the places. He's going to give us some pronouns now. And Torus, you could take the Slaughter Man.
All right. Take a moment to think about all the celebrities you know.
Great.
How many of them do you reckon would do well in this? Not many, I'd wager.
TikTokers. I'm in hell, and here we are. Gets fucking gutted by someone.
I'm sick of this shit. I'm just gonna go rebirth. Perhaps, not many, I'd wager. Perhaps none. Fame and fortune on Earth doesn't count for shit when you're dead. Very few people are strong enough. I mean, enough and downright psychotic enough to earn a reputation in hell. Those few who have what it takes are people you never want to meet.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh. All right. The Slaughter Man is one of hell's legends. A huge bearded man with filed teeth, bloodshot eyes, and foam on his lips.
Santa Claus.
Rumour has it that the day he first emerged from a birthing sack, he was unlucky enough to land at the feet of a slaver tribe. Well, those tribesmen chuckled to themselves and readied their clubs and whips, only too happy to take some fresh meat captive. Outnumbered 12 to 1, naked, unarmed, and brand new to hell, most people wouldn't stand a chance. If you believe the stories, the Slaughter Man shrugged off the clubs battering against him and the whips cutting into his flesh as though they were insect bites. He picked up the first slaver, put his hand into the man's mouth, and pulled his jaw right off his skull. He moved on to another, then another, tearing them apart with his bare hands until the survivors turned and fled. Epic!
Pyramid Head. Shit. You just got Pyramid Head, for real.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, all
Remember
I'm
when he just picks up that chick
and just
rips her fucking skin off? Yeah.
Nobody knows for sure who he was in life. Okay, so maybe you were right. Those who did hunt like that, yeah.
Do you see the word?
Ah, yep.
Yeah.
I've heard stories, though, the most popular one being that he was the berserker of Stamford Bridge. Supposedly, a single Viking held up the English army single-handed. It didn't matter that he could never win, that he was outnumbered, that his enemies had better weapons and armor. He stood on that bridge and he fought. By the time he was brought down, he'd killed no less than 40 men. I don't know how true any of this is. I've never seen the Slaughter Man for myself, and I don't fucking want to. What I can tell you for sure is that people don't become legendary in hell without good reason. I guess that the only one who knows the truth is the Slaughter Man himself, and he isn't saying anything. Since the day he arrived in hell, he's only spoken once. The freeing slavers heard it as the Slaughter Man tore their tribe apart. Naked, bloody, and surrounded by corpses, the Slaughter Man looked up to the storm-wrecked sky and bellowed a single word. Valhalla!
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, that was totally, like, Thor. Like, who like, Thor is based off of, like, the original Viking king who, like, fucking stood there and fought every battle because he just could.
Yeah.
And he was great at it. Like, that's the person to be afraid of.
Yeah.
In this situation.
Yeah.
This next term is cool because these are popular. Like, people, ghost stories about these in media, like Supernatural. It's hellhounds.
Yeah, I mean, hellhounds. I've heard a bit about them, but since coming over here, I've met some people with a genuine concern for them, and
it's supposed to be this like death knell, this thing that follows you, this really bad omen that. It's just like constantly attacking you on like a psychic level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The physical manifestations of it are funny, of course. I'm thinking about the movie like Bye Bye Man or like the TV show Supernatural. I'm just like hellhounds could be really lame. but let's see what way they go. How about a little story? I wasn't new to hell. I'd made myself some clothes and a wooden club, found shelter, had a big slab of meat roasting over a campfire. The only thing I didn't have was a tribe. The area I'd been birthed in seemed slummy, even for Dis. All half-collapsed hovels and mud huts. Iron was scarce, barely enough to make myself a water bowl. All in all, not a good spot for a tribe. My plan was simple enough. I had a decent meal, carved myself a shiv or two in case I lost my club, then find somewhere more or less dry to sleep. After that, I'd set off to look for a tribe. Even the mildest tribal initiations result in a few scars, maybe a broken nose, so I wanted to be as well rested as I could be. Sleep in hell is both vital and dangerous. There's a knack to finding somewhere that's simultaneously sheltered, hidden, and with access to an escape route. Even then, you never get more than a few hours at a time. In hell, the slightest suspicious noise would scare the shit out of you. A low, throaty growl definitely counts as a suspicious noise. I leapt out of my impromptu nest of skins and wood, raised my club, and returned to the growl with one of my own. A woman had crept into my building and was staring at me with dilated pupils. She looked to be in a bad way. Skinny, naked, covered in weeping sores. Her lips peeled back to reveal broken, jagged teeth. It took me all of a second to size her up. She'd been living rough for a few days, maybe weeks. Judging from her protruding ribs, bloated stomach, she was well on her way to dying of starvation. So, she was weak, hungry, didn't even have a weapon. I've already eaten, I said, relaxing a little and giving my club a few practice swings. It's no sense in letting you go to waste, though. I took a step towards her, and she bolted. Just turned right around, scampered away in a strange kind of animal gait. Goblin mode. I took off after her, certain that I could outpace her. Even if there wasn't much meat on her, bones can still be useful. And I chased her through a few streets, struggling to keep my footing on the muddy ground. And when I finally got close enough to swing my club, she stopped dead. The suddenness of it caught me off guard, and I tripped over her, losing my club as I fell. She howled in triumph, a sound that was echoed by a dozen of other throats. That day I learned two things about hellhounds. The people who lose their minds and become little more than beasts after enduring centuries in hell. Firstly, they have a necessary animal cunning to hunt as a pack. Secondly, human teeth and fingernails are perfectly capable of ripping flesh from the bone.
Holy
I was gonna say
shit.
it's a trap.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's a trap the minute she scampered, because I was like, dude, like, don't. It's a ploy. Like, you send the tiny one that looks easy to overcome into the pit, and you have it come out to be ambushed.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
The next one is the surgeons.
Okay. Modern doctors really thrive in hell. Academia and reliance on technology don't leave you in the best state to endure the endless violence and brutality. There are exceptions, though. The people who learned to sew their friends back together amid the machine gun fire of the Somme?
Yeah.
Shamans, witch doctors, and holy men who endured famine and warfare. Survivalists who knew how to cauterize their own wounds in the middle of a forest.
Fucking A.
Those who are some of the people who might just be strong enough to ply their trade to the damned.
Yo, Bear Grylls down there just fucking owning shit.
Wow, okay. After all, working knowledge of basic medicine is just one of those things that's beyond a lot of the meatheads roaming this. Most of Hell's surgeons find a tribe as soon as they're able to. Their tools might be crude, but they soon learn to make do. Flint, slate, and shards of glass serve as their scalpels. They make thread from human hair and needles from slivers of iron. Whenever a member of a tribe has an infected sore, a surgeon will be the one to drain the pus. A tribal surgeon could well save your life, but they'll do it without anesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know, some things you can't get at the grocery store in hell.
Yeah. Then there are the freelance surgeons, the people who try to go it alone. They make themselves a uniform. The theory being that the damned will recognize them if they all look alike. Okay. Still needing some semblance of order in hell.
Hey, don't fucking kill me. I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor here. I killed 32 people, but I'm still have my certificate.
It doesn't really work, but then you can't expect much logic from people who've lost count of how many times they've died. Right, okay.
I'm just trying to continue my practice.
Yeah. For one thing, fashions change over time. I'm told that freelancers wore headdresses and bone necklaces at one point.
Makes sense.
The current trend is to mimic Venetian plague doctors by donning a beaked mask and wearing a long coat of fire-blackened skin.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty badass. Freelancers are rare, very rare, in fact. You'll see thousands of the damned for every freelance surgeon you come across. When you do come across one, be fucking careful. Firstly, surgeons don't get a free pass in hell. The damned are more likely to attack a freelancer than they are to barter their tools, clothes, or slaves in exchange for his services. You can't be certain if the man in the bird mask and black coat is a surgeon or somebody who murdered a surgeon and took his clothes. Perhaps they made the outfit themselves in order to draw the weak and the wounded close. Advertising doesn't always work as intended in this.
Here's the test. How many years were you in medical school and how much debt did you go into because of it? If they immediately get pissed off, they're actually surgeons.
Yep.
They're actually doctors. If they're confused or otherwise don't understand the question, kill them because they're posers.
Yeah, that's it. If the freelancer turns out to be genuine, that doesn't give you an excuse to drop your guard. Freelance surgeons aren't usually the most stable people. Put another way, freelancers are usually sadistic fucking psychopaths. Sure, they might stitch you back together and send you on your way. They might also decide it would be more interesting if they stitched you to somebody else. They might think...
Human centipede. The walrus.
Oh my god, that reminds me, my new thing for ATM is ass to mouth. I just gotta go around the corner
ATM.
to an ass to mouth. They might think paying an arm and leg for their service should be taken literally.
Yeah.
They might want to turn out to be some wannabe serial killer who's yet to find their way to Skin Street. For each freelancer trying to do a tough job in a tougher place, there are a dozen or so Mengelees who want to try out their toys on somebody too injured to fight back. Stick with your tribe surgeon if you're lucky enough to have one. Failing that, learn to patch up your own wounds. Trust me, if you're able to read, you've already got the intellectual advantage over a lot of Hell's residents. Universal education is pretty recent. Freelancers aren't worth the risk.
It's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Fuck.
Cambions. I don't actually know what this word means, but I've heard it before. Do you know what a cambion is?
Never heard of it.
Alright. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm just going to read it. I'll be honest with you here. I don't know if cambions actually exist. What I'm going to tell you is something that somebody else told me. It's up to you to decide if it's true or not. Personally, I really fucking hope it isn't. People rape one another in hell. It happens a lot. If you're strong enough, it'll happen a lot. If you're not strong enough, it'll happen to you a lot. The good news for the ladies out there is the damned men fire blanks. You almost never get impregnated. I say almost never because if you believe the stories, there's an incredibly slim chance that a couple of those little swimmers will be awake and looking for an egg.
Oh.
Yes, a little Antichrist, little Damien.
Shit.
This for you, Damien. Just to put this in, a little Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Just to put this in perspective, we're talking conjoined twins levels of unlikeliness here, and that's just conception. The chances of a pregnant woman surviving the full 9 months in hell are probably conjoined triplets level of unlikely. You're talking about a perfect storm of beating the odds here. But this is eternity. A monkey randomly mashing keys on a typewriter will eventually produce the complete works of Shakespeare if it goes on for eternity. The result of that perfect storm of those monkeys and their typewriters is a cambion, a child conceived and born in hell.
No way.
I'm not saying they exist, okay? I'm saying I've met somebody who swears it's true and that he's seen a cambion himself.
Wow.
Well, you see babies in their birthing sacks from time to time. Usually it's just a body. Occasionally you see one drowning, but most of the time you just ignore them. They won't survive a day on the streets, and even if you could afford to devote your full attention to them, it's better to let them go. It's only the really fucked up people who cut through the sacks and, yeah, I'm not going to finish that thought. I'm getting sidetracked. I don't know. I think you should finish that thought, because in the movie Snowpiercer, Chris Evans is like, ready to tell you that he's eaten babies before, and it's really fucked up.
Oh, shit.
So the cambion, who may or may not have existed, apparently looked like a normal child. It cried, it shit, it sucked its mother's tits, just like a regular baby would. The mother was a part of a tribe, and they'd just been able to protect her throughout her pregnancy. Couldn't tell you why, curiosity perhaps. When it was born, the whole tribe gathered around to have a look. Among them was the man who told me this story, someone I'd meet years later and eventually kill. This man cut the baby's cord, lifted up to his face. Every man in the tribe had raped the mother at one point or another, and he wanted to see if the child looked anything like him. The cambion looked like a normal child in every way but one. Its eyes were dead, lifeless, like a doll's. Sure, the kid was alive, it wriggled, it cried like a normal baby. Those eyes were wide open, though, and not scrunched closed like a newborn's eyes should be. Wide open, empty doll's eyes. If that story is true, I don't blame the tribe for killing the child. Something like that really shouldn't exist. Alright, I'm done. I have to go. This is the point where people like to have things nicely tied up. A few dragons slain, a few maidens saved. At the very least, you could expect that some kind of moral lesson to think over. I think that in this case, that sort of thing is missing the point. There are no dragons to slay. There are no morals to learn. We do not live happily ever after. There's no grand revelation, no clever twist. No purpose, no redemption, no hope. There's only eternity among our own kind. Part 4.
Whoa. Holy shit. Epic. Okay. Hello. Sorry. It's been a long time.
Oh, fun fact. She, whoever, wonderful, talented writer, wrote the first 3 parts in the same, time span, and then left it alone for, years.
Oh, shit.
So part 4 is different.
Okay. Hello, it's been a long time. The last body I had in the living world didn't cope too well, and my mind driving it. It's sometimes hard to remember that the lessons you learn in hell aren't a good fit for the civilized world. When murder is just a normal part of existence, you tend to keep doing it out of habit. The inevitable result is either death or exorcism and a trip back to the city of Dis. Safe to say, I got a bit carried away the last time I was here. After my last taste of freedom, I knew that I had to get back out of Dis. My existence ever since I squandered my last host has been utterly dedicated to fighting my way back to a pillar of fire. I had to escape Dis. After what I've seen, I had to escape. This new body seems a little more durable than the last one. Now that I'm back, shall we take another trip into hell? And continue with this one?
Yeah, the Phlegethon swamp.
Alright.
Greek. Phlegethon.
Oh.
Interesting.
Okay. It rains in hell. It rains all the fucking time, and that water has to go somewhere. Most of it drains out into Gehenna, where it sinks into the otherworldly ash and apparently disappears. The rest flows either into the sewers... I said that very Britishly. Into the sewers beneath the city. Into the sewers beneath the city, or it collects into Phlegethon swamp.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how it's a bad idea to drink the rainwater in hell without boiling it? Well, Phlegethon's water will kill you no matter what you do with it. Even letting the stuff touch your skin can be deadly. You see, the swamp isn't just filled with disease and rot, it's also brimming with chemical waste. One pool might simply be undrinkable, but another might dissolve your flesh. Fun! That keeps it so much more fun and interesting.
Fresh and interesting.
If you're mad enough to travel to Phlegethon, or unlucky enough to be born there, your odds of survival are slim. Phlegethon's waters are inky black, and it's impossible to tell just how deep a pool is by looking. It could be an inch, or it could be a mile. You never know, you never know whether or not your next footfall will plunge you into the cloying abyss. Worse still, there are places where the sewers gradually drain the water and create unseen vortices capable of dragging down even the strongest of the damned.
Theory. That might be the most pleasant way to die here.
I've heard
drowning is like this peaceful return to the womb kind of experience. I don't like thinking about it, but they say that there's a peacefulness to just kind of clonking out. Over being eaten, raped, killed, used as cattle. I'm going to disagree with narrator here and say every time I wake up, I'm fucking dead sprinting for the Phlegethon swamps and just fucking cannonballs, just fucking jumping in there.
Just over and
because
over.
Whether it pulls me down, whether it burns me to my bones and kills me that way, it sounds better than most of the shit that's been mentioned.
Ah, fuck, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I probably, because I take risks, I'd probably go and experiment with other areas, but yeah. I reckon.
No, I mean, just after an eternity, I think I'd spend 30 or 40 years just fucking jumping into a pool and fucking calling it, you know?
Oh, shit. Okay. To navigate the swamp, you're better off using the crumbled buildings as stepping stones. The corrosive water causes wooden supports to wither and collapse, so there's plenty of debris lying around to stand on. Even so, if you don't take it slow and keep your balance, it's easy to slip and subject yourself to a fucking agonizing death.
Fair enough.
Last but not least are the wildfires. These are the reason that even the most insane tribes don't try to establish a permanent stronghold in Phlegethon swamp. All that chemical waste and decaying matter makes the swamp extremely volatile. A lightning strike or build-up of gases can result in immense explosions that ignite Phlegethon's surface for miles around.
Wow. Okay, that sounds bad.
Wildfires move fast. I guarantee that you won't outrun one.
Cocytus. I guess this guy got really Greek as it went on.
Yeah.
Cocytus. The first time you see Cocytus, you could be forgiven for thinking you'd reached the very edge of Dis. The pit is dozens of miles wide and several times as deep. At some point in the dim and distant past, a fragile alliance of tribes put their slaves to work digging a quarry. Why they did this is lost to time, but many believe it was an attempt to escape Dis, to dig to China. Perhaps those tribes hoped that if they dug far enough, they'd eventually tunnel their way out of hell. In my view, the more likely answer is that the tribes were looking for resources, and if that's true, then the excavation process was a success. Miles below the surface, beneath the rock and dirt, there are caverns filled with veins of iron and copper, so far underground and sheltered from the relentless fucking rain that it's far easier to create a fire hot enough to smelt ore. The value of such a position wasn't lost on the tribes, and that alliance soon showed just how brittle it was. And after a short but savage burst of treachery, the initial settlers of Cocytus all but wiped themselves out. Since then, the pit has been settled and mined countless times. Coordinated efforts from various tribes have transformed the quarry into an abyss. So far, these alliances have always been broken sooner or later. Cocytus has many paths in its depths, and the lower you go, the more labyrinthine the pit becomes. The sprawling caverns shelter entire shanty towns and crude smelting facilities. Some are abandoned, others have been lost to cave-ins, yet there are still plenty of tribes who fight, join forces, and betray one another over the precious ore veins. By this point, you have to go pretty fucking deep to find an untapped vein, and this is where Cocytus becomes truly deadly. Anybody who thought they might be able to tunnel out of hell would be sorely disappointed once they learned what lies in the depths. In all these years, after digging for so many miles, not one person has run into some magical portal leading out of Dis. They also haven't run into magma, for that matter. Instead, the deeper you go, the colder Cocytus becomes. I've never been able to get to the very bottom myself. I'm told that down there the air is cold enough to freeze your blood and shatter your skin. Maybe that's true. I could always certainly believe it. On the rare occasions I've been to Cocytus, I've always had to turn back once the walls became more ice than rock, and narrow walkways become death traps. If you have the numbers to do it, Cocytus is still a valuable place to settle. Just remember that when hunger, cold, and greed are your constant companions, none of the damned can be trusted. And I have a feeling that this is the last entry, but, you know, I could always keep an eye out and see if this author came up with anything else.
Okay.
You're going to read The Pale Witch.
The Pale Witch.
I've told you about the Slaughterman previously, but Hell has other legendary figures, each with their own sobriquets? Sobriquets.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Each with their own sobriquets, mate. The Ripper, the Grim Doctor, the Tyrant, and many more.
So Jack and
Mengele?
Probably Mengele, and then Hitler?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes. Yeah, I reckon.
I wish they'd just say who they were, so that I would know.
Would it be as poetic? The Ripper, the Grim Doctor, the Tyrant, and many more. So far, I've encountered one of these figures. During my last stay in Hell, I came across the Pale Witch. As is always the case with legends, the truth about the Pale Witch tends to get lost amid the superstition. I've heard plenty of theories as to what she is. The Pale Witch is a Striga who has power of the evil eye. The Pale Witch is a Gorgon whose gaze turns her victims to stone.
Now you're mixing two things together. A Striga is a very specific thing, and then a Gorgon is another thing.
Yeah.
The same Medusa. Don't you take your Pale Witch ass and get out of here, and you give Medusa her goods. Anyway.
Yeah.
And now she's another thing. Read the next sentence.
Yeah, the Pale Witch is a succubus who entraps the minds of those who she wishes to consume.
Oh, okay. The next line.
All of that is bullshit.
All of that is bullshit. Great.
I've seen the Pale Witch and I know the truth about her. When I first saw her, I didn't realize who I was looking at. She was naked and locked in combat with an armed resident, so I just took her for fresh meat. Here's a tip for you. If you see a resident fighting fresh meat, kill both of them while they're distracted.
That's so unfair.
I planned to do exactly that, but something about the fight seemed off. Residents usually have the upper hand in a fight against fresh meat, and this particular bout definitely seemed about as one-sided as it gets. She was naked, whereas he was clad in leather and bone. She was unarmed, whereas he had a club. She was waifish, whereas he was huge. Despite him having the advantage, the resident was clearly terrified of her. The rules of Hell dictated that he should have cracked her skull, taken her skin, and eaten her flesh, but that just wasn't happening. Not today. He was uncoordinated and apparently desperate to escape. Every swing he took was clumsy, and the blows he did manage to land on her didn't seem to have any effect. I could only stare as this naked, vulnerable woman took the resident's club from his unresisting hand and swung it at his knee. I'm accustomed to the sound of bones breaking by now, but this time the noise caught me off guard. How the fuck was this happening? She brought the club down on his other knee, then his elbows, then his ankles, and then his shoulders.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
She left him broken and screaming on the floor. She could have finished him off with a blow to the head, stolen his clothing, and taken her rightful place as a resident. That's how Hell works. Those are the rules I've learned through bloody trial and error. That is not what happened. Rather than kill him, she sat down beside him in the mud and took his hand in hers. I actually thought she was going to console him until she started breaking his fingers. One by one, she snapped the fingers on both his hands with a calmness that made no sense to me.
Yeah.
I love her. I love her already.
Aspirations.
Torture is common in hell, but there's always a purpose behind it. The people in Skin Street do it out of sadism, and the people in the Boneyard do it for their insane purification rituals. This woman did it without emotion and without reason. I honestly don't know if she even understood that she was hurting him. I don't think her mind works the same way as ours. Eventually, the resident lost consciousness. A man can only take so much pain before the shock gets him. Surely now she'd be satisfied? Surely she'd take his clothes and restore Hell's order? No, she stood up, tilted her head slightly, and uttered a noise for the first time. It wasn't a victory cry, nor was it even a sigh of relief. Instead, the sound she made was nothing more than a faintly bemused, It was as if she couldn't comprehend why her plaything had stopped moving. She stood up and stepped away from him, apparently content to leave him alive, unconscious, and crippled on the ground. She kept his club, but didn't take his clothing. The cold and the rain didn't seem to bother her. What's that thing from Let It Go? Rain doesn't bother me. Oh no, the cold doesn't bother me anyway.
The pain doesn't bother me anyway.
Then she looked at me. In that instant, I knew I was looking at the pale witch. I looked into her eyes and I couldn't fucking move. I understood what she was straight away, and the sheer terror of it froze me. The pale witch isn't a striga, she isn't a gorgon, and she isn't a succubus. The pale witch is a cambion! Whoa! It's hard to put into words exactly how paralyzing the sight of a cambion is. That perfectly serene face and those dead staring eyes just don't belong on a body that's otherwise human. It was looking into the face of a mannequin and knowing that it's looking back at you. That noise again, that kind of detached curiosity shouldn't exist in the world of a predator and prey. Might makes right, survival of the fittest. Nobody in the city of Dis has any right to make that noise. She took an awkward step towards me, and I saw that her right leg was broken. It seemed that her fight with the resident had injured her after all, she just didn't notice it. She tried to walk normally, completely unaware that one of her legs had an extra joint. I don't care how tough you are, nobody should be able to put their full weight on a broken leg without even wincing. She stepped closer, her zombie shuffle steadily closing the gap between us as I stared at her. She raised her club, and my survival instincts finally kicked into gear. Her transfixing spell broke just enough for me to stumble backwards and avoid her swing. I ran. I ran from a woman with a broken leg, and I'm not even ashamed of it. Looking back on my experience, there are some things I just can't comprehend. The Pale Witch is a cambion, I'm certain of it. She was born in hell, and hell is all she's ever known. She also looked to be about 30 years old. That just shouldn't be possible. No baby survives long in Dis. Even if they had a tribe to protect them, there just isn't enough nourishment for an infant to grow into a toddler, let alone an adult. The Pale Witch is a walking impossibility. Her existence is a defiance of all reason. I would endure every torture the people of Skin Street and the Boneyard could conceive of if it meant I would never have to look into her eyes again.
And that's where the guidebook ends, and I want to say a couple things, right?
All right.
So, cool ending. This is obviously someone who wrote something earlier on and then took like a creative writing class somewhere a couple years later and then decided, I'm going to go back, I'm going to just spice this up, I'm going to do another entry, it's going to be a little bit different, it's going to be better written than the others, it's going to, actually tell a story, whatever. What have you, I'm okay with that. But when you start to, evolve things this way, it really does make me say, well, then how can you say that, demons don't exist in this territory? You're telling me that these are just people, but now you're getting into this kind of, no, really, there's something supernatural going on. Like, there's a boundary that gets grayed or contorted from humanity to monster. So, like, don't tell me that demons don't exist. There's absolutely someone walking around with, like, a crown made of bones claiming to be the fucking, like, Lucifer. Like, you just know there is.
Yeah.
And what's worse is, does he or does he not have powers, and does that matter, like, to the system at all, you know? So, I think there's interesting directions to take this story. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out and see if this person adds any more that we can catch up on. But I wouldn't hold my breath. It seems like this person was just in it for, like, these little snapshots.
Yeah.
Which works for what we wanted here today. The pacing was great. I felt you read very well.
Oh, shit.
I liked reading it.
Yeah. I had fun. That was good. And it felt like they had fun just, like, flexing some weird, sadistic, creative bone that they had over time.
For
with
sure.
those entries.
For sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to see or that you'd like to see out of this?
How do you mean?
Just like how I would love for it to take, like, a supernatural turn and for there to actually be, like, devils and demons and a hierarchy, you know, a system.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting to kind of play off that Cambion thing. That was definitely an interesting turning point for me, anyway.
Because up to this point, they've just said, like, the legends are just humans that are good at killing. But this is them saying, like, nah, this thing was beyond.
Yeah.
This thing exists outside of the realm of understanding.
Yeah. 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 It made me think of humanity in general and other media, like some movie that not Robin Williams.
I mean, What Dreams May Come.
Yeah, that one,
Yeah.
and oh, see, now my brain's not going to work, and
I'm thinking of, like, Constantine.
Constantine, yeah.
When Keanu Reeves taps into that underworld and he's, like, just surrounded by souls just clamoring over one another.
Yeah. It's the idea of having a hellborn child and it making it that long just adds a fun twist
It's
to
a spiciness.
the layers of...
It's a spiciness, for sure.
Helps break up the brutalness and the repetitive violence images that were given earlier.
I don't buy the repetitive violence either. Like, I think there have to be so many more systems. Like, there's a reason things exist a certain way. Like, I really do mean, like, you can't just say all the religious people just go to the boneyard. Like, I'm sure there's, like, 8 different boneyards with 8 different focuses and 8 different cults and 8 different religions. Like, I'm sure there's, like, a fucking just room full of, like, Saudi that are just, like, pissed off as hell that they didn't get their 99 virgins.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just horny and angry.
Yeah.
And then, like, across the street, like I said earlier, is the Spanish Inquisition just fucking poking people with sticks and being like, this is fun.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's a lot more complex than what this person is saying, but I like how simple they made the storytelling. Like, it's a mechanism. It's a plot. It's a plot tool. Like, it's a plot device.
Yeah.
So, and it was original. You know, what I'll say is it's original, that it didn't tip into the nonfiction. It didn't tip into religion or myth or fantasy.
Yeah.
It very much said, like, nah, like, I'm gonna go for broke. I'm gonna say when you die, you literally get dropped into this fucking overworld, and it's awful, and people kill each other to survive, and that's it.
Yeah, this upside down Matrix thing.
Gamified Fortnite in hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fortnite in hell sounds like Fortnite, so it's hellish to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a wonderful episode. Thank you for celebrating what will be, like, our, like, 7-year anniversary for this episode.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool.
Because it's coming out in November. So November, I believe we started in November of 2017 or 2016, somewhere in there. So give or take a year in between there. I go with the higher number because I'm getting old and I feel it in my boneyard. So, thank you, Torus Filth, aka Kitty, for coming and having a great time and recording and doing the thing.
Yeah, kia ora, my friend. Thanks for having me and getting me wasted and
feeding you all the cheese.
Yeah, just being the last guide on the last bit of my tour.
I did her well, folks. I gave her some creepypasta to take home.
Fucking A.
I literally gave her a box of Devane's Cheddar Goblin from the movie Mandy. So, I probably wouldn't eat it, by the way.
Yeah.
It is real.
Yeah.
There is the manufactured shitty craft,
Right.
powdered cheese in there.
Yeah.
That you add water and you boil the noodles and you mix everything together. I have 6 boxes up there. Well, now 5 boxes up there on that shelf. And because I did a pack of 8.
Oh, yeah.
When the movie was launched, because it was like a Kickstarter. It was like a thing to help with production for the movie.
Yeah, cool.
It's like, help support our movie, and you could buy some actual Cheddar Goblin. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I got the Funko as well. Yeah, and I had cool. 8 boxes, and I forget who I gave the first box to, but I absolutely gave a box to Scutch McGee.
Yeah.
Who just has it at his house now. I haven't eaten any of them. I don't recommend eating any of them. They've been sitting there for years.
Yeah.
The movie came out in 2018. Don't eat it. It's just fun.
No, it's cool.
Show the people, if they ask about it, show them the actual clip from the movie with the puppet, because it's all fake.
Yeah.
It was made for the movie, of the puppet throwing up
I fucking loved
cheese
it.
on the kids'
As soon as
heads.
I saw it in the suitcase, my brain did like a Kill Bill, like flashback with the lighting and wow.
No, but I gave her creepypasta to go, so don't worry. She's going back home with something to share other than Yako's. Any final statements?
Fucking what a whole fucking town of creepypasta and creepy people and creepy experiences. I had such a good time. Fuck yeah. I'll be back. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
And go get lots of pasta merch. Compete with me on items to have.
Get yourself tattooed, you piece of shit.